right, we are live. Let's wait for a couple of folks here to get into the chat or into the event here. Hope everybody's having a nice Monday start to the week. All right. Couple more clicks here. All right. Only a couple more days till Thanksgiving. I can't wait. Can't believe it's already here. Oh, okay.
I feel so weird not wearing Villanova colors.
Are you wearing a USC sweatshirt or a Jack shirt today?
Yeah, because it was seniors red day, so I had to put my feelings aside and wear the shirt.
Okay. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to tonight's Wildcat Spotlight Series. We're very excited to have you all here this evening as we focus on our college counseling department. Before we get started, we'd like to begin with a quick prayer. So, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Directly beseech you, O Lord, all of our actions by your holy inspirations, and carry them out by your glorious assistance, so that every prayer and good work of ours may always begin from you and by you, be happily ended. Okay. May all gathered here today, as well as our members of the Villanova family, be kept safe from COVID-19 that sweeps over our world. And may all continue to seek truth, unity, and love in a world torn apart by division, that we may all become one in Christ. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Once again, my name is Vinny Girardi, and I'm the Associate Director of Admission here, as well as athletics here at Villanova Preparatory School. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening as we talk about one of the key aspects to the Villanova experience, our college counseling department. Our three-person team is entrusted with guiding each of our students through their high school years, helping find a college that fits their interests and leads them through the application process. Our panel tonight are a big part of our student success here at Villanova. I'm honored to be joined tonight by these three members of the Wildcat community. Miss Jessica Benson is our school counselor. Miss Ayesha King is our director of college counseling. And Miss Amy Richardson is our EIS coordinator and college counselor for resident students. Welcome, everybody. Miss Benson, would you please talk a little bit about your background and introduce the rest of the team?
Yes. Hi, my name is Jessica Benson, and I am the school counselor at Villanova. I have been at Villanova for 14 years, going into my 15th school year. And Villanova has had some definite changes over the last 14 years. And I've seen a lot of constant changes, which I really like within our counseling department, to really highlight where the students' needs are and how we can support them better through this complicated and stressful time in their lives. And now I let Miss Ayesha King can introduce herself.
Hi all, my name is Ayesha King. I am going into my second year at Villanova. I had one full year last year. Previous to this, I was an admission counselor at California Lutheran University for 5 years. And I also worked at a law school admissions office for 3 years prior to that. So I've been on the admission side for quite a long time, and I'm excited to constantly be working with your students and students to help them find the right fit in their college journey, and that looks different for everyone. So it's been a real pleasure to work with Villanova students and get them to their destinations in college. And now I'll pass on to Miss Amy Richardson.
Hi, everyone. Okay, yes. Hi, everyone. I am in my 10th year here at Villanova. I work mostly with our resident students. I've been in the dorm as dorm staff, also as EIS coordinator, and as academic support for our resident students. And through that, I've done a lot of work helping students as they prepare for college. So I'm really excited this year to have added the role of college counselor for resident students.
All right, well, wonderful. Thank you again all for being here this evening. Let's jump into it. So, Ms. Benson, can you tell me about the cycle of a typical student? How do you work with a student from their freshman year through their senior year?
Yes, I can. So prior to the 2020-2021 school year, things ran a little bit differently since there were only 2 counselors to the student population. And we were in person all of the time. So things have changed a little bit, and that is a asset to our team because we do constantly see how we can improve what we're doing, whether we are virtual or in person, or both as we are in currently. So what we do differently now is we have grade level seminars that we teach. So we see all students, and our focus is to have all students know who each of us is. So we like to share and collaborate with each other and with the students to know that they could ask any one of us a question and all of us have an answer for them. If not, we just direct them to the person who does. In the 9th grade, the focus is on college and career readiness. We started a new program with our freshmen called My 10-Year Plan, and this helps them through developing what their 10-year plan is, and this can be seen by all 3 of us. So we have a guide to help them complete and access their goals, and we work with all students, 9th through 12th, for social and emotional learning, which is very important at this time, considering we're in a pandemic, the country is divisive, as mentioned in prayer for unity, and we just want to make sure all students are receiving their support. So we work with Project Wayfinder to look at belonging and purpose through their curriculum. In 10th grade, we begin that search process with students with SCORE, which is our online forum for our students, and to help them become familiar, because this is what they will use as they go through the college application process. And they start early, what our college is expecting. How do I write those activity descriptions in those 150 characters or whatever it may be. So it kind of gets them used to what is going to be expected of them. And it's a place for them to really keep track and store what their activities are and what they have done, what they have earned, so they don't have to ask us later, because sometimes we don't keep record of everything that they've earned while they've been a student here at Villanova. In 11th grade, they dive deeper into the application process this past school year, and we hope to continue this partnership with the college essay guy, Ethan Sawyer. And he helped our students for free, all of the juniors in June, to start that essay development and to explain to them what is it that you need to show in the application. And it's not always uniqueness, because many stories that students have are not unique. So how can they make themselves stand out in that way? And essays are becoming having more emphasis in the college application process with the withdrawal or test blind option that many colleges and universities are taking this year and in the future. And then with the 12th grade, it's a college application workshop every day, at least in the first semester. So that is that one-on-one support we give to the seniors when they're in class with us. And they can ask us any questions. They could ask us to review their essays, give them some insight, because I'd rather have them hear from me that I don't see them in their essay or I cannot, understand what they're trying to say, than have them submit an essay and be like, what happened, in the end. So we like to, not have that happen. And then we also, with the college essay guy, Ethan Sawyer, we also partnered with him in September to really help those seniors make their final drafts as they prepare for the application season and submitting in their applications. So we are doing our best to give them as much support through the process as we can and evaluating their needs every year. And yeah.
That's a very awesome answer. It's very everything we need there for sure. So we have around 200 students, and it's very much a tight-knit community. How often are we meeting with students? Is there specific students for each counselor, or do you collaborate with all of our students?
It's both and is the answer. So what we do is we do have our individual groups of students that we're responsible for seeing. I work with the 9th and 10th grade day student population. Mrs. King works with the 11th and 12th grade day student population, and Miss Richardson gets to work with the 9th through the 12th grade resident student population. So she needs to know it all. But with that relationship development and with her being in the residence for where her office is, I think that's allows so much knowledge about the student for her when it comes to writing those letters of recommendation. But we also collaborate with each other frequently. We meet weekly together to discuss students, how to help them. And we don't always have the answer to something, but 3 heads are better than 1 at most of the time. So we can work with each other, come up with solutions and supporting students. And our goal is to help the students know all of us, not only one of us at their grade level at one time. So that's how we determined we wanted to work with the students, especially through the seminars.
All right, awesome. So, obviously being a college prep school, there's a lot of emphasis on getting to the next level, being prepared, obviously in the classroom, but also for test prep and taking the test. Do we offer SAT prep or ACT prep, and do we offer testing on campus?
So we do offer testing on campus. We have the PSAT. In years past, we do all lower classmen, freshmen, sophomore, and juniors get to take the PSAT at no cost to them, which is a SAT. Essentially, it gives you the sense of what the test feels like, what it feels like to sit for 4 hours doing a test, moving from section to section with that timing. And with the PSAT results through College Board, you actually do get personalized results and training on what you should be working through with the Khan Academy. And so that is an opportunity that is provided through College Board. And one of the reasons that we start the PSAT process in the freshman year, traditionally at most schools, it's just the juniors that take it because they qualify for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test competition. And then there's also the sophomores. Sometimes at schools can take it optionally, but we actually provide it for all. This year with the pandemic, I will say we are probably going to limit that to the juniors and optional for the sophomores, just given how the needs of the community and safety. And we also offer the SAT on campus in the fall. There is a school day administration this year. Because of the limited testing available, we actually offered both, and we plan to offer the spring date as well for our juniors who are going to be rising seniors, so that they have a test to fall back on if they're not able to get another seat somewhere else. So we do our best to provide testing within our safe community where we know we can handle and control the protocols for our students. In terms of prep, in the past, we've done a variety of things. I mentioned the Khan Academy free prep that's offered. We've had outside vendors come and hold test prep here on campus at the students' cost. We've also done some subsidized cost for our resident students. So it just depends on the situation for the year. I will say we've been in discussion about this as we see the college landscape changing and the admission landscape changing, with the focus coming away from tests. And, you know, my personal background is working on a test optional policy for a university. So it is a trend that is moving pretty much full steam ahead, and some schools that have announced that they're just going to be test optional for this year are likely going to continue to be test optional moving forward. And so given that, we really want to put our resources where it's going to help students the most. And so as Ms. Benson mentioned earlier, we've partnered with the college essay guy a couple of times already for this year's graduating class. And we would like to continue that partnership and maybe a little bit more robust. I do think the essay is the most impactful piece of the college admission process, and can really make the difference between a student that looks, all things considered, the same as somebody else. Is how did that student come across in the essay? So as much as we can with the changing landscape, we want to stay up on those trends. So we're going to put our resources to where it's going to help the students the most. That's not to say that we're going to do away with all testing and test prep, but we will be directing students to where they should be focusing their efforts. And right now that's the essay.
Okay, and again, as a high achieving academic school, we do have a high percentage of our students who end up matriculating to four-year universities. Can you just talk about some of the schools that our students have gone to in the last several years?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're so proud of them. It's really great to see where they all end up, but we have high representation among the UC schools. All 9 UC undergraduate UC campuses represented almost annually. We have students go off to the East Coast as well, several of the Cal State schools. So East Coast, I'd say we have had students go Ivy League in the past few years. We had a student admitted to the University of Chicago last year. We've had, and in the past 5 years, we've had a couple of students admitted there. University of Florida, which is typically very competitive for a California student. We've had a student go there. Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo is a big one for our students. Many of the private schools in California, Oregon, Washington as well. And we have had some students go international too. Some students go to Australia and Canada for their schooling based on their interests. We had Alabama last year. There's always really good representation in the top 50, I would say, but also students who are, looking for that very specific fit where they know they're going to be supported and do their best and be their best. And that's really what we ultimately want to cultivate among our students, and for them to know is that it's not the name that they're going for, it's what they're going to get when they're there. And so, we really do work on counseling the students and making sure that they are making the best decision for themselves. And so, yes, it's great to see all these wonderful names on the list that you're very familiar with, but it's also wonderful to send a student to a small school in Nebraska and know that they're going to be very happy and successful on their way out. So
it's a great point you made there, but kind of just jumping off of that, when you mentioned we have students studying internationally, and I'm going to ask Ms. Richardson this question. So, obviously having students that want to study abroad, how do you guide a student through those aspirations? Like, what is the process? Is it similar to studying in the United States, or how, what is it like applying to a school in England?
So the process is actually similar in some ways and different in some ways. So England, Australia, and Canada are the countries that our students most often are interested in studying because they're English-speaking countries, and our international students have English is their second language oftentimes, so if not third or fourth. So we're looking at those countries. For England and Australia in particular, the IB classes become very important and the IB diploma becomes very important. Those countries, when you're looking at applying to them, they require that in addition to the US diploma, they want to see additional test scores. So usually SAT, ACT does that because we are kind of moving away from that in the United States. And this year in particular, it's becoming more difficult to get those tests. The IB diploma is a huge aid for students who are interested in going in that direction. So a lot of it when we're looking at a student who is interested in going outside the US, it's kind of looking at that 4-year plan, and it's that we start in ninth grade. And so we start kind of having these discussions in ninth grade of where do you think you want to be in 4 years? Are you interested in studying outside of the United States? Because that 4-year plan might look different because of that. And so I would say that that's kind of the beginning point of the college process are those 4-year plan meetings that we have each year with students, and they become kind of more and more important each year.
Awesome. All right. So I know you all collectively work with each of our students in terms of meeting with their families. Do you guys have a schedule in terms of how often you meet with a student's parents, or is it really just kind of communicating a couple times a quarter? How often are you touching base with our students?
So formally, we have right now, and it's changing. So formally right now, there's going to be at least one formal meeting per grade level with each of us and students with their parents, because we're still in flux as to how those meetings will take place, whether they're in person or on Zoom. We will find out, but we will be having those specifically in the springtime, except for the seniors are generally in the fall. As we move forward, we're going to reevaluate our formal meetings because it changed, actually got reduced because of the pandemic, and we don't want to see that happen in the future. So we're going to reevaluate how we're going to meet with families. Typically, it's 3 formal meetings with freshmen and 2 for the other classes. So we're still kind of seeing how that works with our teaching schedule and our life schedule. And
everything is just everything changed completely. So totally get that for sure.
Mr. Girardi, I do also want to add that we have included or started this year a monthly newsletter to parents at each grade level to highlight information that they need to know. And that's important from us to parents in helping to support their children as well. So we've added that piece of communication in, which is great.
Absolutely, and every resource that we're able to give them makes a huge difference, I'm sure, kind of keeping them along with that. So that's great you guys do that. Ms. King, can you talk about, and again, I know this is a COVID year, but I guess in a normal sense, or maybe this is something that we've done virtually, but can you just talk about the schools that have come to visit Villanova? Certainly, again, we're a high achieving academic school.
Sure.
We're fortunate that we put kids in pretty solid places, and we're kind of in demand. So how do we recruit the schools to come to us?
Yeah, so I mean, our reputation does a lot of it for us. Our location has made it a little bit more difficult sometimes in a normal year for schools to make it to our campus, but we typically have about 75 to 80 schools visit us throughout the majority of the fall term, which is when their big travel is and they're recruiting for students. But what's been really a kind of a strange blessing in the pandemic is that they can join us via Zoom. And so since they can join us from anywhere and they don't have to worry about a 2-hour drive from LAX and fitting in a drive up the hill out of the way, we've had more schools and a larger variety of schools come to join us on our Wednesday college visit days, which are currently the only days that we have college visitors. But we've maintained our numbers. We've had about 85. We only had about 85 slots, but they all filled up fairly quickly, which we were proud of. And juniors and seniors get to go to these meetings unless it's a once in a blue moon visitor. We've had schools. We've had Boston University, we've had CU Boulder, we get at least 1 or 2 UC school representation as well as Cal State school representation, several of the private schools in our area, several of the private schools across America. I'm trying to think, Brandeis University, Babson College, those are some that are in Massachusetts. We have a very good relationship with Villanova University. And so our regional representative, Patrick Ronay at Villanova, makes sure to visit us every year. And it's always a popular visit. We have UCSB coming on Wednesday. So that will be a popular visit for students. It's always a great variety. And then in addition to those individual visits that we hold, we also have a couple of college fairs every year, not this year, again, given the pandemic, but we usually have 10 to 20 schools at each of those college fairs, one that's geared towards the day population and all the students that are here, and then one that's actually specific to international students through the Linden college tour company. And so they actually drive around all these international school counselors who know what it is like to work with international students and know the ins and outs of what the international policies are. And those are both schools that are in America and around the world that come to this Linden Fair. And there's about 40 of them that join us from there. So that is a really great resource for us, and it connects us to more and more schools based on whoever's on the tour. So I do think that we have been very lucky in getting our colleagues up here virtually and meeting with our students every year.
Awesome. And you touched on it a little bit too with these international outfits that are helping our international students. Being a boarding school, I think, is one of our biggest blessings. We're fortunate to have such diversity on our campus. Students from over 15 different countries. It's truly remarkable to see the demographics, everybody kind of coming together and going to school. It's really cool. So with many international students attending Villanova with aspirations to attend a U.S. university, Amy, you might be able to, or Ms. Richardson, you may be able to guide the question, excuse me. But how do you guide international students in their college process?
So for our international students, the process actually really begins the moment they step on campus. We begin, our international students begin their time at Villanova with an orientation. And during that orientation, for our sophomores and our juniors who transfer in, which is actually quite common amongst our international students, we use some of that orientation time to get them caught up in what we did with our freshmen and our sophomores. We also include in that orientation a college visit. So we like to get students right onto a campus. USC has been one of the colleges that we visited. We've also gone to UCSB and we've gone to Pepperdine, which are kind of some of our local colleges that are nearby. Always kind of branching out, trying to look for different places to take our students to. We also offer we've also taken students to Loyola Marymount as another place that students have been taken to. And then really for the international students, it's also conversations, because English might not be their first language, it's conversations about TOEFL testing. We are actually a TOEFL test site, so students don't have to leave campus to take the TOEFL IBT, which is really nice. And this year, of course, a lot of our students are taking the online version of that. So it's really just supporting students as they go through kind of the different aspects of being an international student. Also helping them, a lot of international students, the financial side, getting all of the financial paperwork into place for the application process, because they do have different requirements when it comes to that as well.
You just touched upon it, you know, for a lot of these students, not necessarily having English as their, you know, their first language. You know, I mentioned earlier, it's in your title, obviously, EIS coordinator. Can you just explain, you know, what does that stand for, and how does this program help these students get up to speed?
Yeah. So our EIS program, it's English Immersion with Support, and it's a program that runs really for students in 9th through 11th or 12th grade who just need a little bit of extra help. All of our students at Villanova take, I guess what you would call our mainstream classes. They're in classes alongside our day students, alongside our domestic students. And so sometimes they need a little bit of extra help with that. And so our EIS classes offer a little bit of extra support for the English classes. They also will be, students that are in the EIS program also take an English language development class, which is during the school day. And it kind of takes the place of their foreign language, because English is their foreign language. So we have a lot of supports in place. And then on top of that, I work in the evening. So my day actually doesn't start until noon, which is really nice. So, so my day runs noon to about 8 p.m., sometimes 9 p.m. So I'm actually here on campus during study hall, which is really helpful for all of our resident students. So when they're working on applications, when they're working on homework, I'm a credentialed teacher, so they can come to me and they can ask questions. I know pretty much the English curriculum like the back of my hand. I was a history teacher, so I can help with that. And so I do a lot of work during that study hall period with our international students, kind of giving them extra help.
All right, that's really great. So obviously, you know, every student is different with different gifts and strengths. You know, not every student is created equally. Some are, you know, very academically inclined, and some are really go or need to be pushed a little bit to get the most out of them. So I guess, how do you go about and assess each student and prepare goals for them?
It really is about connection, and the first step is that 4-year plan that we develop with them when they start their journey here with us at Villanova. But it really is talking to students about what are their goals, where do they think their own strengths lie, or what do they feel that are their areas of improvement. And ultimately, you know, we do look at their grades together, especially at the time when it comes to pick their courses for the following year, and really identify, you know, what is the trend that you see. You know, do you see one? Or this is what I see, and this is what you had said that you wanted, you know, to do in your career, or where you wanted to be for college. Is this still the case? And a lot of the time, I would say, if not most of the time, the students actually say, oh no, I don't know what I was thinking, or oh yes, that's definitely where I am, just based on the trends of what they were doing, and, you know, changing what major they thought they wanted to do while in college. So it really is developing that relationship early, and even before they start here at Villanova. We try to do that in the summer before freshman year, or the summer before they start. Was not able to do that this year, but that's the plan moving forward, because then they know what their goals are, and their parents know what their goals are, and we all work together to support the student on the journey of accomplishing those or changing as they see, how they are doing as a student at Villanova. So, and as we mentioned earlier, it is the transcript that is the most important piece of the college application process. So we definitely want to show them that as well. We don't want to emphasize grades, but we need to let them know that it is important. It is the most important piece of the application review.
For sure. All right. And just one more final question here. So Ms. King, can you just talk about, I know you touched on it briefly in a previous answer about our students going to, four-year universities. Can you just say, I guess the percentage of students that end up going to a four-year university out of a typical class, and are they, how many of them are earning scholarships along the way?
Yeah, so given that our class is small, right, we have about 55 to 60 students per class, per graduating class. So given those numbers, one or two students can make the difference between a 10% and a 15. But typically about 90 to 95% of our students go to a four-year university. And then a couple of students or a handful will choose to go to a two-year college and transfer to a four-year university in their junior year. Students who choose to go to a two-year university or a two-year college, community college, will continue to get support from Villanova's counseling staff, needing help with what the transfer policies are, what classes to take, things like that. We are here for them and continue to be on that journey until they get to the four-year university. But I will say that those students who choose to go that route either have that in mind already, and we still encourage them to apply to a four-year college so that they have that, in their back pocket. If they choose to and just want to see what happens. But it's usually a financial decision or a decision based on what their needs are for academics or their career path. Like a student who wants to be a firefighter does not need to go to a four-year university to do that. There is a really great fire science program at our local community college in Oxnard, and that's what I would recommend for a student who is wanting to do that. So about 90 to 95%. In terms of scholarship, many of our students receive a merit-based scholarship when they are applying to schools, and that's both at state level and at the private institution level. So, I mean, as many of our students who go to four-year universities, probably the majority of them also earned a scholarship somewhere to go to college, but maybe didn't choose that particular scholarship to follow, if that makes sense. So ultimately, I always tell the students, half of this process is you selling yourself to them. And the second half of the process is the school selling themselves to you. And it's ultimately your decision. So some schools do throw, a lot of scholarship money at our students. And sometimes it's enough and it's a big, it's a big deal for them. And sometimes the students say, you know what, even knowing that, I still want to go to this school and this program is the best for me. And I may not get a scholarship to be there, but I got financial aid or a grant or something that would help with those costs. So I will say a majority of our students do get merit aid as well.
Okay, I just want to say thank you all for your time tonight. Villanova is lucky to have such a dedicated team as yourself, and especially in this moment where the world is kind of in chaos a little bit. It's nice to know that we have that extra bit of support to get our students and keep them along the road. So I want to thank our panelists tonight, Ms. Benson, Ms. King, and Ms. Richardson. Thank you very, very much. I did also want to let everybody know of a few upcoming events. Our next Wildcat Spotlight will be focused on our STEM and Claire Booth Loose Club. That'll take place on November 30th at 6:30 p.m. We will also be hosting another Spotlight on our IB program, International Baccalaureate program, which will be on December 1st at 6:30. You can register for those events at villanovaprep.org/visit. And also, if you have not done so already, Villanova has waived its application fee through December 1st. So if you haven't done so, please take advantage of it. It's always worth saving the extra $50. It makes a huge difference for sure. So once again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for all that made it tonight, and have a great Worcester week and happy early Thanksgiving. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.